I think they're a lot more familiar with theater than I am. For me, I've seen more theater now than probably I've seen in my entire life.
I think it's been really exciting to watch the children's creative process. I think that's one of the greatest things I got out of this trip, because when you're in Santa Monica, the children go off without us, and we don't see what they're doing. And and then after like 4 weeks or 6 weeks, there's this finished, beautiful art piece. Yeah. And to watch how art is being created, and to watch how excited they get about it, and just the energy in the room when that happens, it's really magical.
Well, I first wanted to start doing Santa Monica Playhouse because I wanted to become a TV actress. But then my mom told me it was live theater, and I'm like, okay, fine. And then I just started to love it. I think acting is awesome, as well as this ice cream.
You learn so much from it, not only about like, you know, history, because like the plays take place in different like time periods, and then there's also like the whole writing aspect, and I love to write, so like I find it fascinating to like read the plays that especially like Evelyn writes, because she writes so many plays, and that's just like amazing that she writes all of them.
Just the ability to be different characters and how to express yourselves in many more ways than one. And I like being different people, and I like having the ability to perform in front of an audience.
Well, I was like looking for a summer camp, and my friend's like, hey, let's try this one. And so I was like, I don't really act, but I'll try it. And I tried it, and I really enjoyed it. And she stopped going there, but I kept going, so.
I think part of what we do is not just about performance education, but cultural education. So I think part of what the Playhouse wants to not teach, but bring into the lives of the kids that come is just an awareness of the world outside of them, and how they can use that to broaden their own choices and information and belief systems. So it's not just the one thing they grew up with. They can see that the world is beyond their, you know, own comfort zone in their homes, and just learning about other cultures, and which is all part of being an actor, learning about the world and how things are different from what you may be used to or accustomed to growing up.
Because I was already involved in theater, my wife's friend thought I would be interested in seeing a play at this little theater in Santa Monica, which at the time it was, no one knew about it. It was just a small black box theater that I was invited to, and I was invited to see a play and a playwright I'd never heard of, Jean-Paul Sartre, and the play was No Exit, and it was a preview performance, and they needed an audience, so they asked me to come. Changed my life, and it was right from that day, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be doing what I saw happening on stage.
I joined the Playhouse the same day that I started at UCLA, and I was just looking for a once-a-week workshop to keep my skills honed, and found Santa Monica Playhouse, and shortly thereafter became involved in plays there. Shortly thereafter met my husband, Chris DeCarlo, there. We started the education department together there, and then when the former artistic director retired, we sort of inherited it in 1973 and have been artistic directors ever since, creating such programs as the American Cultural Youth Ambassadors, the Young Professionals Company, the Actors Repertory Theater, and many other companies and projects.
I would recommend this trip to everyone, because when I read about it, at first I was like, maybe I'll go to England. And now I'm like, why did I ever doubt coming? Because it's so fun.
She has had a lot of independence, and from what I've seen, she's absolutely made the best of it. I'm really, really proud of her. I think she learned how to do laundry.
It's funny, everything about her world has changed, because she's obviously never done anything with this. Obviously, she's never been to Europe before, so everything about it's changed. Ironically, the only constant is the performance. It has changed venue, it changes, but once you get on the stage, it's a different size stage, but it's still the performance, so that's the only constant. Right. And that has grown in itself and changed
hugely.
But otherwise, it's a whole unbelievable new, precious experience that kids like this are so lucky to have.
We have been doing a variety of things on this particular trip, including performing, studying with teachers from the National Theater, from Playbox Theater, we have also been doing a little bit of sightseeing, and we always say that these are working theater trips, so the sightseeing that we do is just in terms of the fact that we are in theaters and on the streets and in the buildings of the different countries that we explore.
We performed at the Theatre Museum near Covent Garden, which was an absolute splendid occasion. Then we, by coach, came to Warwick, and here in Warwick, outside the Dream Factory where I am now, we are going to perform Drempel's and Grandma's Place. Unfortunately, I am not in Grandma's Place, so I will merely be on book for that occasion.
There's Drempel's. I'm in Drempel's.
Next is cool.
No, Drempel's is more awesome, okay?
Yeah, see, that's what I'm trying to find out.
They're all equally awesome.
Yeah, I think they're all equally awesome.
And I control all these little Dremblies, because I enjoy controlling people. I'm very fascist, as fascist people go. So I round up all these little Dremblies, and then I keep them in submission through pain. Isn't it wonderful? Pain.
So you're in control of all these people?
No, not people, Drempels. I'm in control of many, many Drempels.
You're not the victim on any level, are you?
None whatsoever.
Right. So you're in total control of what's going on.
I am in total control.
When we finished Drempels during the summer, Evelyn told us that if we all go, we would be able to perform in Holland. And so right away, everybody in Drempels knew that they would be going this year because they all really, really, really wanted to be able to do Drempels again, especially in a place like Holland and London and Warwick.
No, thank you. We're far too busy.
No one's for the wicked. Wait time is blue.
It's doing nothing. And isn't that exhausting? Time sure does fly, sure does fun when you're having fun, when you're on your go to seem to run that every day. No sooner said than done to bed. Sleep and rise, it's no surprise, it's easy. My head, nothing comfort. Up and down like a roller coaster, down and out like a horse-sized toaster, on and off like a disco poster. See how it goes. Round and round like a wheel of Paris, up and go like a fast Polaris, down and out like a maiden of terrace, ever faster. Time sure does fly, just watch the sky, just watch the sun when you're having fun, when the days go past, and we'll know on which one's going. Into one here to disappear, at the other side, you rise or wide, every time you linger, it's something's changing. Back and forth like a bronco, and it can't be broken, you can't outrun it, forth and back like a one-arm man, and see where it lands. Stream like rolling, rolling, hyper, off and on like a baby diaper, growing to the crystal hyper, bigger, bigger, bigger.
It hints subtly at the environmental state of the planet, and I think it is much akin to Dr. Seuss's, what was it called? The Lorax.
Right.
It's a very nice short story I'm sure you're familiar with.
So we brought 3 shows and 1 cabaret that we're doing with Playbox, and we're performing them in Holland and London and Warwick. And I think there's 19 people on the trip, and in London we stay at the dorms, and in Warwick and Holland we get to have homestays, which is really great.
It's been amazing because we get to do so much. We get to do so much that relates to theater. We did a ton of workshops in London with different teachers, and they were amazing teachers, and we got to see a show every night in London. And this week we're seeing a couple more shows, and we also get to stay with homestays in Holland and Warwick, which is great because you get the experience of the country as well as the experience of theater.
We saw a lot of shows. We saw Titus Andronicus, which was really bloody, and I liked it a lot. And then we saw Antony and Cleopatra, and that was really good as well. And so the shows at the Globe were fun because we got to stand, and I felt like we were actually like seeing a real Shakespeare show. It was the first time I'd done that, so that was exciting. And then we ate a lot of really good food the whole trip, which was yummy.
Because we're the moms, sometimes we stay with a different family than our kids, and so we're getting to know lots of families, and we've made wonderful, wonderful connections and friends and people that when they come to the States would stay with us and that have invited us back. I think that's been the highlight of the trip for me.
And in 1989, one of the workshop parents who also did sports tours, suggested, why don't I do a theater tour for you? So he did the first one for us in Japan in '89, the first one in England in 1990. We struck up some wonderful relationships with Playbox Theatre in England and Model Language Studio in Japan, and have been exchanging with them as well as many other companies and many other countries ever since.
This is, I think, our 17th or 18th UK summer adventure, which we started back in 1990. It was always structured around a week in London and a week in Warwick. The London work was working with master teachers from the National Theatre, the English Shakespeare Company, the Globe Education Department, and various other artists who work mainly with professionals in London.
Otherwise we get bored, right? My friend who was in production of Hamlet, where they all sat around like this and they acted in the centre, he said that actor played Hamlet used to say, "Long portion to be, go on to be." And he used to count, and eventually he would go. 13 seconds was his championship pause. Right? It's ridiculous. That's the emotional translation. The literal translation is useless. The emotional translation is useless, right? Bootless. Sounds better. It's better word than useless, isn't it? We should bring it back. Useless. That's so useless. What's that good in a marital argument? You're so bootless.
When we do workshops here, we very often do the kinds of study that we don't get back in the States. We did some wonderful Shakespeare workshops, a storytelling workshop, we did some devising workshops, voice movement workshops, we did a Brecht workshop, very often in conjunction either with a play we are going to see or with a play that we are going to do, to help give us more of an insight and a broader horizon in the work that we are doing.
Oh, the workshops are so much fun. I think my favorite was the improvisation one, or the storytelling, because we basically just got to go wild.
But she also loves ballet. She's ballet provider. She loves ballet.
Then, okay.
Task for today. Meet the nice lady who looks like her Aunt Sally in New York.
We had fun in those workshops. I mean, I spend a lot of my days not getting to play. And I'm also spend a lot of my day being the responsible one. Well, right now, I'm not that responsible. I'm not in charge of my schedule. Chris and Evelyn are so in charge of my schedule. Okay? And so I don't have any say in my schedule. And the only thing my job is to do is, whenever possible, allow myself to play. And it took me a long time on this trip to give myself permission to play, but now, going back to the States and saying, heck, I want to play some more. How do I play? So I think that's what I really got out of this for me, outside of getting to be mommy for a bunch of kids. That was kind of fun. I really like the opportunity to play.
Windmills,
you serenading her?
Fields and house, we all had come to know.
To see myself and a lot of the young people that I work with, and to see the changes that they go through are the same things that I went through, and it's just interesting to see, when did that change? You know, when did that part of me grow up, or when did that part of me, you know, when did I learn to work through that? Because I think you don't notice a lot of those things as you're going through it, but then you look back or see it in someone else and you go, oh. And I think I see that a lot in the young people, and that's always insightful.
I love getting like new scripts and stuff, and being able and learning different like exercises and stuff that we can do to help improve ourselves, and a lot, whenever we get a script, I like figuring out the characters and stuff about them, and I don't know, I'm just happy when I'm there.
And then I found all of the workshops interesting, improvisation a lot, because it was really funny, and it was fun to do too, because you had to think really fast.
Watching the kids in the workshops, I mean, I think one of the really intense moments for me was when we did the Brecht workshop, watching the kids do the scenes, when there were just two kids doing the scenes, either the mother and the daughter or the husband and wife. I was blown away. I was blown away by how good they were. You know, I was totally impressed.
chair. That's flouncing as an action. And so what we're looking at also is how to keep things really, really simple today. And each of these have been just very, very efficient, very simple, very clear. And I have to say that your observations are terrific. You know, the other thing that Brecht really wants to do is to start people on this journey of critical thinking. You know, to actually not criticize, but to be critical in the way of talking about what they've seen and what they've heard, not interpreting, not going, oh, you know, I could see that, you know, that the dancer, you know, she really wanted to be at the Royal Opera House this morning, or, you know, at the ballet this morning instead of in this workshop. That's an interpretation, we don't know. What we saw is somebody very upright, with a big smile, doing this incredibly, you know, beautiful turn and showing that she's a dancer. And that's what I saw. So we're looking at what the fact is and not trying to create fiction all the time.
There's no restrictions on just the self-expression. Being true to your own humanity and everyone else's is very important to me. And especially with the Santa Monica Playhouse, a lot of our focus is on that. And I don't find that in a lot of other theater companies or other actors I've come across. It's all very about themselves and performance rather than reaching out to other people in a human heart way. And I think with young people, they are less jaded and they're more open to it, and then you can help them at a younger age be more open and prepared for things that they may go through. And just in theater, they can realize that they have imagination and they are important, and what they say has meaning, even if they're only 11 years old.
It keeps you connected with humanity, with the world at large. If you're really doing your job as a theater artist and you're connected with your own dramatic voice, then you want to share, you want to help, you want to reach. And young people have the most open hearts, the most open minds. They haven't yet developed so many of those bad habits and those shells and those protections that us older folk have. And so they're right on the edge. They're always open, they're always excited, they always have something to share. And so working with young people in this kind of a mix that we have at the Playhouse, really all ages working together, makes life ever exciting, ever wonderful, and everything that we do becomes important to ourselves, to each other, and to the world at large.
Well, the play that I'm doing on this trip is called Grandma's Place, and it's about kids who ran away from home, and they came to this place, and it's called Grandma's Place, and they basically take them in and they take care of them.
We're not a reform school, not a halfway house, not an orphanage, not a detention center. Look it up on the map, you might not even find it. You might assume it doesn't exist at all, except for the memories of those kids whose lives were changed by Grandma and her no-nonsense thinking about life.
My teacher was always saying, if you have any questions, talk to me after class. So this one time I got a B on an essay. It should have been an A, and I thought, why not? He said to come, so I did. His office was a lot smaller than I imagined. It was more like a cubicle than an office, although not a cubicle because it had a real door and the walls went all the way up to the ceiling.
We'll shake you until you shatter, until your soul splatters on this application form, blotting out that one cold word. No! Never! Never again! I worked for this my entire life, but it wasn't enough.
All right, let's see. Next, The Hollywood Story is a cabaret version of a play that we actually did before with 9 performers. Now it's down to 3. And what we do is we sing the different songs of the characters, and we become different characters by putting on different hats and wigs. And it's an amazing opportunity for an actress because there's acting, singing, dancing, it involves everything, and the portrayal of actually 4 different characters in one production for all 3 of us in it. And it's an amazing experience to be able to be in.
I don't worry about that. I go to a special academy. It's better than Lambda, better than RADA, better than BAM or BAFTA or BADA. It's called POGO. I'm a POGO practitioner. POGO, process-oriented goal obliteration. We work on process, not product, obviously. We have deconstruction classes 5 days a week, Mondays through Fridays, or sometimes Wednesdays through Sundays, or even Fridays through Tuesdays. That's so we don't fall into a schedule or habit. On the 6th day, understand that concept. They ask how pogo translates into performance. Performance? We don't perform. That would defeat the purpose of the process. We can't perform. We never perform. Our entire goal is to eliminate the concept of goal from the English language. And we're very single-minded about it. Fake it! Take it! Make it! Repeat! True! Beat! Fake it! Take it! Make it! Repeat! True! Beat! Fake it! Make it! Repeat! True! Beat! Fake it! Take it! Make it! Repeat! True! Beat! Fake it! Take it! Make it! Repeat! True! Beat! Fake it! Take it! Make it! Repeat! It's all been done much better. It's all been done before. Now thumb your nose and hold the pros and truly know the score. Don't overblow your ego. Don't reinvent the wheel. Who cares if it is real? Who cares how much you feel? It's there, it's free to steal. Don't waste your time, don't waste your breath on classes, counting love and death. Go out and rent the DVD and copy. Or crib and try banana, or sultry sharing stone. If chunky abs are just what grabs you, go for slice below. Or torment, there's no Kilmer. Get down with Bob Duvall, or wacky Lucille Ball. Get suave with Monty Hall. Outrageous is your call. Ow! Don't waste your cash, don't waste your time. There's better ways to make the classic. Black and watch late night TV and copy. Dash, Michael Caine, Rash, Billy Zane, Hero, De Niro, Rash, Hit the Lane, Cool, Errol Flynn, Fool, Hit Quinn, Villain, Actor, Fool, Rodney Finn. Get raw like Eddie Murphy, or would you like to be more? If salad cheese is just what pleases, go for Polly Shore. Get real with Marlon Brando, and have with Gwen Marie, or Brady Martin Sheen, or Oddball twice at a green, but that is the scene. Don't blow your mind, don't blow your cash, there's better ways to make the splash. Pay your dues to TNT, watch that tube and you will be a real life facsimile, just copy.
It's about the young people and giving them the kinds of experiences that will enable them to become critical thinkers, to become artists with a deep appreciation for the artistic process beyond just it being a product or just a fun experience, helping them develop their own artistic voice through exposure to not just the art of theater, but if we visit a city like London or Amsterdam, I mean, for this trip we went to the Rijksmuseum and we had a wonderful exposure to Rembrandt in a different way. These kids never would have seen these paintings at this young of age without a process like that. So there was a lot of discussion and exposure, and even if they didn't get it right now, we found that over the years they come back. So it's a very fulfilling and evolving process because it not only helps them, but it helps us. It validates the work that we all are already doing because we see immediate effect of the experience in a very positive way.
One of the most exciting things about touring and traveling is that you are thrown into new and different environments, sometimes with little, sometimes with no preparation at all. One time we were traveling, we got into the space and they told us we were going to have several hours to rehearse, to set the lights, to set the sound. They asked for our CD, which we gave them. We had given them a light plot. We went into the dressing room to begin putting on our costumes and makeup, and all of a sudden somebody knocked on the door and said, "You're on." And we hadn't even seen the stage yet. So these kinds of things happen quite a bit when you are on tour, and although they can be scary, they also give you a wonderful, wonderful in-the-moment excitement, which you can't get in any other medium.
I mean, I think the three of us feel that if we had to be in charge of the whole group doing what they do, that it would be overwhelming. It would be an impossible, daunting task.
And to do it several times a year.
Yeah.
And not to only take them, but to keep on putting on a professional level production wherever we're going. So not only are you in charge of all of these children, but you're really producing a touring show.
Yeah.
So each show is of high quality wherever we are doing it. That's amazing.
I think they give the kids something that the kids don't get anywhere else. The feeling of accomplishment at doing this and what they create and what they've learned and the flexibility and adaptability of, you know, constantly being on the go and being in different places and being with, you know, families they don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, that they have to suddenly converse with, that they have to, you know.
And keeping it all together.
Keeping
all
it
the
all
time.
together.
And,
Yeah.
and some of them got sick, and some of them were tired and exhausted, and yet every show was
Thank God for chocolate.
A very peculiar group of actors. Melly and Alana, how are you today?
Hot. I am very, very hot. In fact, I'm always hot.
Is that another one of your quotes?
Now, Chris.
It was 8 years.
8 years.
Yes.
8 years.
How are you?
Well.
You're well?
Well.
Not good?
Well.
You're well.
Well.
Okay.
I think I'd just like to say thank you to everybody who's been involved with this trip and all these productions and everything, because it's such an amazing group of people that we get to work with. And, you know, performing in the different countries, everybody there is so welcoming and so nice, and just open your home to someone you don't know and be able to have them stay with you for a week and really become friends with them and connect, I think is just an amazing thing. And I've actually only been on the side of it that I am now, but pretty soon I'm going to be actually giving a homestay to a Japanese person this summer, so it's nice to be able to see the experience from both sides, I think. And just thank you so much to everybody who's been involved. It's been an amazing experience.
I love this trip. It's one of the best experiences you'll ever have if you're driven to do it. Like, if you don't want to have a trip where you work hard for what you want, then this trip isn't for you.
Well, I made a promise to myself when I got back from Vietnam that I would never put myself in a position where I would violate somebody else's humanity. And what I get out of acting and the universe of the performing artist, or the theater artist as I like to call myself, is that I can celebrate the human condition in all of its aspects, and I can explore it in all of its shadows and dark places, and come back with a body of wisdom that I can then offer up and hopefully have provide a pedestal or shoulders upon which others can stand on, so that we don't participate in that kind of inhumane, terrible thing that war is. And it's not just the war on the battlefield, it's the war that we all face in our schoolrooms, in our hospitals, on the streets every day. It's that's why I do it.
Kristen Evelyn's philosophy, she lives it. She just
They're like Kristen Evelyn are like the very one or two teachers that I had all through school that you just remember for the rest of your life. You want to go back and see them, and they're iconic, and they instill that in the kids. It makes it worthwhile. It's such a well-rounded education, not just about theater, but about life.
Yeah.
And it's like having a second set of parents.
Oh, it's been, oh my gosh, it's been incredible. Like, I can't even describe it. I don't know, I've just had such a great time. It's been amazing.
It's like a really great trip, and it's really fun, but you really need like a lot of stamina and energy and like be able to keep going.
There's two main reasons that we do the cultural exchanges, both when we travel and when we bring other countries to the Santa Monica Playhouse. One is to learn, to study, to grow as theater artists, and the second and probably more overreaching reason is to broaden the world horizon, and at the same time to make people on both sides of both coasts understand that we are all human, that we all share the same wants, the same needs, the same feelings. Cultural exchange gives us the opportunity to understand other cultures in a way that we can never understand by watching television or reading a book or reading about them in a newspaper. And one time as we were performing in Japan, Senator Kyoko Ono of the Diet in Japan said, "This cultural exchange that you are producing is more than an educational experience. It's more than a play. It will create peace and brotherhood between our nations." And I think peace and brotherhood, sisterhood, humanhood among all peoples is one of the main reasons why we do cultural exchange.
Non pindrai farfallone amoroso, notte e giorno d'intorno girando, delle belle fermando il riposo, narcisetto dolcino d'amor. Delle belle fermando il riposo, narcisetto dolcino d'amor. Non vi avrai questi bei pennacchini, quel cappello leggero e galante, quella chioma, quell'aria brillante, quel vermiglio d'onesto color, quel vermiglio d'onesto color. Non ti avrai quei pennacchini, quel cappello, quella chioma, quell'aria brillante. Non vedrai farfallone amoroso, notte e giorno d'intorno girando, delle belle fermando il riposo, narcisetto dolcino d'amor. Delle belle fermando il riposo, narcisetto dolcino d'amor. La guerriera il tuo furbetto, gran stacco stretto stacco, scappa e sbaglia, sabbia al fianco, volo dritto, uso franco, un gran casco, un gran turbante, molto onor, poco contante, poco contante, poco contante. Ed invece del fandango, una marcia per il fango, per montagne e per valloni, con le nevi e i soglioni, al concerto di tromboni, di bombardi, di canoni, che la impalla in tutti i toni, all'orecchio fan fischiar. Non ti avrai quei pennacchini, non ti avrai quel cappello, non ti avrai quella chioma, non ti avrai quell'aria brillante. Non prendrai farfallone amoroso, notte e giorno d'intorno girando, delle belle fermando il riposo, narcisetto dolcino d'amor. Delle belle fermando il riposo, narcisetto dolcino d'amor. Che rovina la vittoria alla gloria militar, che rovina la vittoria alla gloria militar, alla gloria